What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Hello everybody, Drew here for Drew Underground, back with Breaking Rock 64. Joining me is a guy who knows about woke horse shit and evil anti-Christian bullshit, probably as much as the next guy. Desert Nord.
Yep. Hey there.
Hey bro. I didn't have anything clever because I didn't think of anything ahead of time like usual.
That's okay.
Because I realized I was about to introduce you. I'm like, fuck, I didn't think of anything. Okay, well, fit with what we're talking about today.
I apologize, Rob. I don't know.
What the fuck does this have to do with sports? Obviously, we're talking about the Olympics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, let's see, first tab here. First and foremost, the opening ceremony. We got to talk about that because we have not. What the flying fuck is this?
Yeah, they many people will say that they are certain what they were aiming for with this opening ceremony.
We see it on screen right now, so.
No, I know, but the power of suggestion is very powerful on both ends of the spectrum. The point I would make is that there's a little bit of interpretation, a little bit of the opening ceremony. Normally, in any normal Olympic, because this is definitely not what we would call a normal one, is centered around the athletes, centered around perhaps the national pride of the country that's hosting, perhaps centered around the history of either the Olympics or their performance in the Olympics, centered around sports, that sort of theme. Now, the strange decisions that were made in this opening ceremony, and that's generous to call it strange. For many, many people, it was just straight up offensive.
And we will get back to the word strange at the end.
Yeah.
Don't you guys worry about that.
The only debate that is to be had with this particular moment of the opening ceremony was the debate as to whether or not they were mocking, because they were absolutely mocking it. Like, that's not having those particular people in that particular condition with that level of absolutely horrendous fashion and complete disregard for any sense of elegance or any sense of self-respect is absolutely a mockery of whatever they were attempting to mock here, which in this case is one idea here is that the Last Supper is what they were mocking. Now, the other possibility, if we are to assume they weren't mocking that, which they probably were, is the dine parties of the Olympians in Greek mythology, right? Yeah. That's the other plausible attempt that they were mocking here. Okay. Now, why they needed to mock anything is beyond me. I don't really know what their point was, other than to say, I guess they were trying to say that the Olympics should have something to do with the queer community. I don't know. Last time I checked, the Olympics normally has absolutely nothing to do with social issues, the queer community, gay rights movement, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't see the connection, and I don't know why they shoehorn all this crap into the Olympics.
Which is why this episode of Breaking Rocks is called "What the fuck does this have to do with sports?"
Yeah, and it's kind of the WTF with the opening ceremony, which was the first of quite a few controversies in this Olympics, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first sort of WTF moment everybody's had in this Olympics. Which again, it ranges from like geez, wow, that was bad, all the way up to I can't effing believe they did that. Um, that's the reactions. The range of reactions. And then there's other people who are like, whatever, they don't care. Like basically the least opinionated opinion on this is that they don't care. But then the people who do care hated it. Like they either didn't care or they cared and they hated it. Very few people, tiny sliver of the population was excited to watch this crap. Anyway, so after that, when the competitions actually got underway, the list of controversies and problems has been quite thick.
Yeah, and we will get into them, but I want to start with the swimmers that got sick for swimming in what was it, the lake?
The Seine, the river.
River, okay.
Yeah, the Seine River that runs through
It's
Paris.
been said, and I haven't seen any evidence to point to the opposite direction. They had them swimming in basically a toilet.
Yeah, it wasn't sanitary, as you would expect for a European river. Not particularly medically safe.
I would say a French river, but
well, pick a country in Europe, but yeah,
throw a dart at the dartboard.
It's not safe to just openly swim in many of the rivers of Europe.
Yeah.
And the same could be said for Asia too, but but the point here is that yes, there were at least one, if not several, swimmers had gotten sickened by ingesting the water of the river.
And then there's also the added caveat of domestic abuse being awarded by gold medals in the Olympics now.
Yeah, the whole controversy that blew up with that was the women's boxing pugilism competition there, where you had essentially men competing with the women.
And now in one of the gold medal matches, one of the women got a broken nose.
And again, we say essentially men because biologically speaking, they are.
And also the fact that, as Mom pointed out, in their day-to-day life, they apparently dress just like men.
Sure. Because if they didn't in their, well, at least one of their home countries, they would be in trouble.
Yeah.
But when it came time for signing up for the Olympics, they signed up for the women.
In the case
category.
of one of them, they're from Taiwan, which has me going, and why are we allies with Taiwan again?
Well, every Western country has this problem. And some non-Western countries too.
Because we know the Olympics supports all of this array of horse shit because they're allowing it.
Sure, the people that run the IOC do actually themselves don't know how to determine male, female suddenly. You know, suddenly they don't know how to do that anymore, even though they've been doing it for decades.
I will never do this anywhere, but especially not on YouTube. If this were Pornhub, I would probably at max consider showing you the difference between a man and a woman. But this is YouTube, so you just have to use your imaginations, folks.
That particular controversy is an extension of the women's swimming in the United States controversy we've been going through for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And the women's wrestling and the women's every other kind of competition that's got men in it now.
Swimming has had issues before.
So it's just an extension. It's a problem. This is a problem we knew was going to be a problem for this Olympics. That was predictable. So controversy, yes, but predictable also, yes. As on top of that nugget, you also have the several memes that came out involving one of them involving the Turkish sharpshooter and the sort of easygoing style he had. That was kind of actually a funny moment, sort of a positive thing, I guess, that came out of it, which is of note for people who are into memes, perhaps, like myself. And then the other thing I would mention is the women's gymnastics, which was sort of, I mean, like with Simone Biles, for instance, the supposed return, the second rise of Simone, right? After she completely biffed it in the last Olympics, last Summer Olympics, she essentially dropped completely out of competition after failing on the floor exercise last time. She's dipped out of 2 or 3 of her events and just basically quit the Olympics entirely last time. And so this time she came around and actually won some medals and put herself at the top of the list of female gymnast medal winners now. But I don't know. The thing about it is everybody was sitting there saying she's the greatest of all time, everybody. And I'm just like, well, I wasn't as impressed as I should be for that status of that title. I was not as impressed with with her vault in the Olympics as everybody else was. I was like, they're sitting there saying she stuck the landing, and I'm like, that's not a stuck landing. I don't know what you people are smoking, but that is not a stuck landing. Perhaps she did the best of all the other gymnasts in that competition, but I have seen better vaults and I have seen better floor exercises in my lifetime than that. So, if anything, this time around, the competition was much weaker. And so she looked like the best, but the best not among the best. So that's all I have to say about that.
In talking about floor exercises, considering that mom does those when she wakes up every morning.
Yeah, that's a different kind, of course.
I know, but our mother does better floor exercises than they do.
I'm just saying, that particular thing was not impressive to me. Now, another controversy involved some of the track runners, and how for some reason several of the track runners decided to start twerking.
Yes, I saw that.
After their races, and everyone was like, are we watching an Olympics or what the hell are we watching here? Because there were some that were tasteful, like tasteful tracks, runner people in the race who were just like doing their thing, normal, trying to win, being sportsmen. And then there was these other people who seemed to be on some like really, really bizarre bender of like social media influenced insanity. And
here's a question for you, Nord. Which would you rather have? Men competing in women's sports, or I assume it was women twerking after a track race?
I just don't understand how someone could get to that level of sports competition and be that like low, be that tasteless, be that like shallow. I mean, it must not be as hard as I thought it was to reach that level, if that's the quality of people that are reaching that level.
And I guess you don't want to answer the question.
Well, I mean, look, it's not the worst thing I saw, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it is of
Between
note.
the opening, seeing a woman getting her nose broken by a man in boxing who was from Taiwan, in the case of the guy. And then also there was the other guy in boxing whose first name is I Man or some shit.
Yeah.
Real clever dipshit. But
the other story of note that happened was in the men's pole vaulting, where
yes, where a guy got disqualified essentially because his package was too big.
When
it comes down to
the French pole vaulter, okay,
yeah,
he was going over the bar, and what initially tapped the bar was actually his leg, but then his other leg also hit the bar. And that was the part that people noticed. And so it caused a whole bunch of internet shit to happen again, like it always does when things like this happen.
Yeah.
And and it was one of the funnier moments, if I might just say so.
Yeah. So
in the Olympics.
So it can be said that the Olympics loves men beating up on women, but if you're a man doing manly things and your dong's too big, you get disqualified.
Well, he knocked the bar off. I mean, you can't
Yeah,
touch.
I know,
You have to avoid hitting the bar if you want to
but
get your points
but
for it.
but the joke still stands, though.
Yeah, no, everyone was joking and saying, "Oh, he missed it by an inch." Ha 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 ha. And I was just like, "Well, no, he hit it by several inches." Um,
Ha
but
ha ha.
yeah, but yeah, the Olympics has been quite a trip this time around, and I come away not feeling really that all inspired by it, more than just like disgusted with the condition of sports and the world and how people are behaving. I feel like it's just like batshit Olympic insanity is just a continuation of every other batshit insanity we've been dealing with. You know, it's like a microcosm of the world right now. And it really is like confirming that people really are losing their fucking minds. And it's affecting every corner of society, culture, just all of it.
Well, here's one last joke for the French pole vaulter. I guess you could say his bar reset the bar.
Yeah. his his pole hit the bar and not the pole that they gave him.
Yeah.
That's the pole God gave him.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
That's what happens when your dick's too big. It's a problem some men have.
But speaking of
It's a good problem to have,
egos,
though.
well, not in the case of the next person we're going to bring up here. When your ego is too fucking big, or rather when you are more liberal than Koala Harris herself, she's chosen her vice presidential pick. The governor of the state that I just fled from, Tim Walz.
Yep.
In other words, as I came to know him under his oppressive leadership in Minnesota, and I know that this term has been flung around by Trump unwarrantedly. Trust me, it's warranted. When you want people to prove that they're vaccinated to go out and do shit, forcing masks, forcing jabs, in other words, taking everything Biden wanted, but to the extreme. Oh, and by the way, not only celebrating, but your wife going, I just love the smell of smoking tires.
Yeah,
That's the Walz family in Minnesota.
Every inch of chaos and degradation that's gone on in that state in the last 10 years from, especially since 2020. And before that, it was basically economic policy and destabilization and, moving hundreds of thousands of migrants in who don't even like Minnesota and don't even like Minnesotans at all. They're not even Minnesotans. They're just Somalis that came. And then everything that happened in 2020, which was Minnesota kicked off the national riotous war zone that it became in 2020. Epicenter was in his frickin' state.
I saw the fear that Winona was in because of what was going on up north. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it spread nationally. And again, that was all under his purview. Like that shit happened on his watch. And
when you go into work at Target at the time, at 3:30 in the morning was when I had to be there, and you and your team lead, he unlocks the door, and one of you has to crawl over carts because they barricaded the door shut.
Yeah.
When they left.
Yeah.
Because of the riots and Targets burning down in Minneapolis in the summer of love in 2020. if you
Yeah, no,
will.
very few governors can say that one of their largest cities in their state was nearly burned to the ground during
Yeah.
their tenure. Very few governors can say that. But he can say that. If he was being honest, he would admit that that was under his, that was during his reign as governor, And he didn't even necessarily oppose it. Like they let it happen. They didn't stop it. They didn't put any stop to any of that. They were on the side of the rioters.
And also, he was working hand in hand with Kamala Harris in bailing these people out, too.
Sure, yeah,
So
exactly. And when
there's
it came
that.
time for consequences for insane, violent behavior, they were up there trying to apologize for it. Help people escape the consequences of their actions.
And also, he also called for, if you saw your neighbors outside not wearing a mask, to turn them in.
Yeah,
And
and then COVID happened, and COVID was another opportunity for a lot of
so,
these types of people to show their true colors, and he definitely did.
and also, there was one speech that he gave where he replaced the Minnesota flag with some Middle East foreign country's flag.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, he's a traitor to the state that he's supposed to be the fucking governor of. In other words,
Most likely Somalia, I would assume.
the
Yeah.
mainstream media throws this insult at Trump unwarranted. Oh, it's fucking warranted at Tim fucking Walz. He's Hitler light.
Well, the way I would put it is, if you wanted to find a pretty shitty governor, there's only a couple that are worse. And by a couple, I mean 3 probably.
Hell, this is probably the only time you'll ever hear me say this. Governor Newsom is probably a hair better than Tim fucking Walz.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, because...
Well, keep in mind how long a hair is. That's the difference between Trump being dead and alive, too.
Yeah, it's just that he's been a pretty lousy governor of the state, and he's overseen a massive collapse in national respect, frankly, for the state of Minnesota.
So, I will leave off with this so we can move on to the one topic that YouTube doesn't want us to talk about. And you'll know what it is when we do it in a second here live on YouTube. But I will leave you with this about Tim Walz in comparison to Gavin Newsom. When I was in Minnesota, I understood full well what people in California were going through under Gavin Newsom, because the people in Minnesota were experiencing it too with this son of a bitch. Yep. So in that...
Yeah, and that doesn't even begin to touch on the whole him ordering tampons to be put in men's bathrooms.
And there's that too, which is why people are calling him Tampon Tim.
Yeah, and also his dodgy record in the military, whether or not he actually served, which he appears to have not served, despite claiming to have served.
Which is the reports of stolen valor.
Uh-huh. Some of this matters more to people than others, Some of this is more devastating than others. We personally have been underneath his governance, and both of us were aware that he was and is a terrible governor.
And we voted against him every step of the way.
Yep.
But on that note, now for the topic that YouTube, apparently Google fucking hates this word now. And obviously I'm talking about this particular platform. So we're not allowed to say that word at the top of the screen now on YouTube, apparently. Huh, bro?
Yeah, we're forbidden.
By the way, while we're here, please go subscribe to this channel on this platform, which is the very channel you're watching now on YouTube, on this particular platform. Oh, and by the way, just for you, Google, Rumble. So,
yeah, there's actually...
Welcome to the underground, everybody.
There was actually also a bit of news on that regard you perhaps heard. And it is that Susan from YouTube has passed away.
Mama Susan.
Yeah,
So
she has passed away.
So who's the ego dictator that's ruining YouTube now?
I'm unsure of who exactly is in control of the company at the moment.
Other than the bots that patrol the fucking site.
Obviously, there are seconds and thirds. Obviously, there are seconds and thirds, and others and henchmen and such.
So, after this isn't live, and anywhere from a day to a week from now, because last week's episode of this podcast got uploaded to Rumble this morning. So
the important bit to remember about that, though, is that she was former, of course, and not current leadership. So,
well, either way, Rumble. Oh, sorry, I did clear my throat there. So, as I was saying, last week's episode is now up on Rumble. And
boy, you just trying to get canceled, ain't you?
Well,
that's fun.
Here's the problem. Like our father before us, you tell me that I'm not allowed to say something.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like George Lucas when it came to the gold head for C-3PO when Anthony Daniels was like, I like all of them except the gold one. And George is like, well, that's the one we're having. You're allowed to say all these words except for these ones. Oh, well, those are the words I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's important to keep a rebellious spirit about such
with
things.
The exception of very few words, because I have no desire to say them, like the 3-letter F word on camera or the N word in general.
Yeah. But this is about corporate espionage and about greed and about censorship, but only in the how dare you utilize a competitor? How dare you traitor you?
Fun fact, when I was still in Minnesota and I started the channel on Rumble, get used to it. Whenever I uploaded or did a stream on YouTube, I had it automatically get uploaded on its own to Rumble because it allowed for simul uploading. That has since been removed by Google and i.e. YouTube, because people are flocking to Rumble and leaving this platform due to the censorship policies of YouTube and Google. It's your own fucking fault, Google. And the fact that you don't want people to talk about the place where people are going is your fucking fault they're going there. And the fact that you don't want people to say Rumble on this platform is only going to make even more people run screaming for Rumble in the fucking first place. So congratulations, you are hammering another nail into your own coffin. And I'm going to be here until the bitter end here on YouTube.
That's the way censorship always works.
For reasons that I do not want to get into because of StreamYard directly will make it really expensive. Let's just put it that way for me to stream directly to Rumble, even though the Rumble channel is now up to 7 followers, so we could stream over there. It's just that I got to pay through the fucking nose to StreamYards to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And as you know, we make no money here in the underground, so it's all completely out of pocket for me.
Yeah.
Which is why you're still going to see these live on YouTube and still see them uploaded later to Rumble, because StreamYards is being a prick, as far as I'm concerned. Because you can stream to many platforms without having to pay StreamYard. X, YouTube, like 3 or 4 others. But Rumble's not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone seems to hate Rumble. And welcome to the Underground, where we say whatever we have to say. Not that we want to say it, but we have to say it to those that we have to say it to, like Google
It's
and YouTube.
it's painfully apparent why they do all hate Rumble too, because it's a site that's dedicated to letting people say what they're thinking without telling them they can't. Whereas every other platform pretty much is all capped to the you can't say that methodology. So that's where we're at with that.
Yeah. So on that note,
yeah, I was going to say there is also a story that is on that note that I was going to perhaps mention. Unless you have something else.
I do not at the moment, because I'm trying to look it up right now to bring it up on screen. But what do you got?
Well, I was going to mention the sort of month-long story that's gone on in the UK, which of course also involves censorship, which is why I mentioned it, where over the last couple of weeks, there's been an increasing number of protests and maybe even we could call it rioting of native Brits who are sick and tired of migrant violence and being afraid to walk the streets in their own country due to African migrants who have taken over a lot of the cities in their country. And in response, the British government has decided to start cracking down on their social media and arresting people for social media posts in the country, which includes the blessings of King Charles and the new prime minister.
Yeah.
To do that cracking down and arresting of people for their speech. And of course, it's the usual normie / leftist fear of anyone who disagrees with them being dangerous. I mean, on a certain note, they probably are dangerous to those forces that they oppose, but those forces are not British. Those forces are foreign. Those forces that they oppose are people who would see Britain destroyed and altered into something it's never been before and was never meant to be. So as much as they want to wring their hands and shatter and cry in a corner and shake literally about the protesters and the backlash, those protests and backlash are in order to save Britain from a dark future that leftists should know better than to support radical Islam. But yet, here they are.
Mm-hmm.
Here they are, letting it run absolutely rampant and letting migrants run absolute roughshod over the British people in their own country. Whether it's stabbings, which have gotten completely out of hand, everyone knows that, or whether it's rapes, which have gotten way out of hand also, or whether it's just physical violence, murders in many cases of children.
And also, speaking of Europe, there's also a recent report that's come to my attention of Europe or England or whoever being able to prosecute people from other countries for speaking out against their government.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? You do know that's in violation of every country's fucking constitution on the planet fucking Earth.
Yeah, this is the problem is that you have global law enforcement organizations that think that the worst thing you could ever do is not be completely okay with the decimation of your country.
By a foreign country, that would also be an invasion by a foreign country.
Yeah, no, like the worst thing that they could possibly think of in their mind is if you're not pro, like, illegal immigrant. If you're not pro illegal immigrant, you're like the worst piece of scum to them.
Something like this can and should be considered an act of war by the country that on the receiving end, whose citizens are getting rounded up by another foreign country and arrested.
Well, see, the main point I was meaning to make here was just about the oppression of the British citizenry by their king and their parliament. Which, again, not news, not new, and nothing that wasn't predictable anyway. Because, again, they have a monarchy. They don't have a representative republic government. They don't have voting. They don't have anyone in their government, for the most part, that they want leading
That
their
we know
government.
of.
They have whoever has the power with an iron fist that will not relinquish it except through force. And they don't believe in freedom either. That's the bigger problem. Their government's leadership does not believe in personal individual liberty at all. They don't believe in that. They believe in people being made to do what they say and being made to allow what they want allowed. They say what goes, and if the British people have a problem, the British people get punished for having a problem with it. They don't have freedom. They don't have rights, at least that are recognized by the government. They do not have any leeway whatsoever to choose the direction of their country. Their country is under the iron fist of globalist forces. And frankly, I don't exactly know how the British people, or just like the French and just like the Italians and other countries in Europe, I don't exactly know how these people get out from under that. Because that iron fist has been upon them for centuries in the case of Britain.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any better. It's not, and honestly don't know why they haven't changed their government in all this time. It's almost as if they didn't see this coming. But so it's difficult to have complete sympathy, because if you don't want representation, you want a monarchy, this is what a monarchy does. So, you get what you ask for in this regard.
So on that note, I know there's been a lot of darkness on this episode, a lot of bad things to talk about. Well, we got John Rich here featuring Sonia Isaacs' Revelation. So Nord, are you ready? I don't know if you've seen this from John yet or not. Have you?
I did hear about it, but I didn't watch it yet.
Yeah, I did watch it because Mom played it for me because I wasn't sure if I was going to do a Drew Reacts to it, but I knew that I wanted to show it to you, so I figured that we were going to do it on Breaking Rocks anyway.
Yeah.
This is a very powerful song, and as you can tell, it is very biblical by its name. Bro?
Sure, yeah.
So without any further ado, underground, strap in. Grab if you're Catholic, your rosary. If you're just Christian and non-denominational, grab your Bible. Hold it tight because here we go.
Dancing in the flames, the people cursed his name, bowed at the altar of the father of lies. But there's a number to their days and all their evil ways. The Lord's gonna turn away from all their cries.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to any of it so far?
That's if they don't enjoy themselves in the meantime, of course.
Yeah.
Forces of Evil have a lot of fun on the way.
On the way to eternal damnation, yeah.
Gonna turn away from all their cries. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Oh, get ready, 'cause the King is coming. The King is coming back again.
That's a good hook, bro.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good chorus.
The King is coming back again. He needs to. What do you think?
Well, what do you mean about the concept or about specifically about something?
The thought of Christ needs to come back sooner than later.
Well, yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah.
Brimstone upon their heads, millstones around their necks. They'll feel shaken when the trumpet sounds. And no matter where they hide, there'll be nowhere to run when Jesus puts his mighty foot on the ground. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. So get ready, 'cause the king is coming. The king is coming back again. When judgment comes like a lightning flash, their voice will wail and their teeth will gnash. He'll set fire to the evil ones and all the wickedness they've done. There'll be no time to turn around as the stars begin to hit the ground and the mountains fall and the veil is torn with the sound of that seventh horn. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Oh, get ready, 'cause the king is coming. The king is coming. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Oh, get ready, 'cause the king is coming. The king is coming back again. The king is coming back again.
That's the thumbnail right there, huh?
Yeah, might not want to get in between that one, John. just might want to stand back and watch that one, maybe.
Yeah, just stand back, grab your popcorn, and go. Get him, Jesus, get him!
Bite him.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
be funny.
Jesus biting? No, his sword comes from his mouth.
Yeah. That was
As
just
it,
funny.
as we well know, because it's written in the Bible anyway.
So wrote the prophet John before his days were done.
Prophet John, huh?
He's talking about John of Patmos.
I know, but
Yeah.
modern day Prophet John here. What, bro?
Well, I mean, he's a believer. As far as calling
I
himself
know.
a prophet, that would be a mistake.
No, I'm not saying he's calling himself a prophet. I'm calling him that.
Well, I know, but sure.
Well, Prophet John, I know damn well he's not calling himself a prophet, but I am.
He's not telling us anything we don't already know, though.
Yeah.
A prophet is supposed to be someone who reveals things that are otherwise not known. None of this is even news. None of this is even like none of it's shocking to us at all. So.
Yeah, because you and I have been awake for a long time.
So I wouldn't use that prophet word either.
It was a joke. Settle down.
I'm just saying.
Don't take jokes literal.
The king is coming, and it won't be long.
Hopefully that's true, John. Chapter 12, 10 through 11. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. 11 says, and they, the brethren, overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the sword of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. Bro?
Yeah. That part actually, especially in the part 11 there, or I should say verse 11, that part actually kind of almost mirrors the way Islamists feel about matters. And it actually kind of illustrates a bit of what ended up in the 6th century later on, inspiring sort of like the parallel but somewhat reactionary writing of the Quran. And a lot of the verses in there are very similar, in case you ever get around to reading any of that. But it's sort of like much more, well, shall we say, willing to commit violence than much of the Bible is. The Bible is very, very much more a pacifist book than the Quran is. But it's also a very self-assured, very, victory speaking, very hope, I guess you could say, despite the fact that that word has been abused so many hundreds of times. But the book is a hopeful one. And the book of Revelation, the context is important, of course, and the context by many modern Christians is completely unknown or ignored. And the context of its writing and of John of Patmos's opinions and revelation that he felt was needing to be told to his church which by the way was written in Greek originally, was mainly and primarily about the Roman government at the time, which frankly much of that actually came to pass, as it turns out, and did happen. So as true as it is, the question mark is it relevant? That was always the question for me. As true as it obviously is historically, is it relevant? And if you're a historian, it's wonderful. But if you are a fundamentalist, it may be a misstep. It may be a misunderstanding. So that was always my opinion, and still is my opinion about the whole thing. So
so we still have about 20 seconds here. All right. Director David Doc Abbott, editor Leif Scartland the Jr., and visual effects Jared Potter.
yeah.
Jared works with Tom.
Yeah. Well, I believe John and Tom have actually done things too.
Yeah, they did a video called End of the World.
Yeah.
Which
So it's kind of all in the same friend group, I suppose.
Which we reacted to here on the channel as well. But with that all in mind, I don't have anything else for this week.
Yeah.
Shit. I just realized that I went through everything I was going to do for next week.
Huh.
That was the Tim Waltz and the Rumble shit. Oh well. I guess I'll have to just reorganize my notes then and come up with something else for next week.
I'm sure there'll be more. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
There will probably have to be.
There always is.
Well, the Tim Walz thing needed to be done sooner or later anyway, because that potentially has a short shelf life, only about 80 some days. It'll keep on the shelf at this point, right?
Well, the beauty of what we do here, okay, is that it serves some utility looking back also. Like I told you before, a lot of what we do here is for posterity. Well, what that means is that we have voiced our opinion on record at the time about a certain thing. And so if anybody, like a YouTube historian or whatever, we're going to look back on the videos that you make and at the time you make them and the topics we talk about, they would get an understanding of perhaps at least some segment of the population's opinions about things that went on at that time. It's sort of like commentary on history as it's happening is what we're doing here.
Well, what I'm talking about was short shelf life, as in he's the VP for Harris, and after the election, and after Trump gets elected president, his name will be more or less meaningless to the rest of the general population of the United States again.
Yeah, well, yeah, political campaigns being what they are, of course.
Yeah. Even though to Nord and myself, our mom, and anyone else who came from living under his fucking thumb in Minnesota, we will never forget Tim Walz and all of his shit.
Yeah, no, we definitely don't trust that he would be of any use in the federal government, let alone in the vice president position.
In fact, like I alluded to and probably did say earlier, I don't remember at this point, but the media talks about how Kamala Harris, and they ask Kamala Harris intentionally, is the most left politician out there. No, Tim Walz is.
Well, let's just put it this way. If everyone likes what they're seeing with what has gone on in Minnesota over the last, say, 10 years, then sure, then I guess you could go with that. But frankly, I've witnessed that state go from great to horrible.
Yeah. When Governor Ventura left office and Tim Walz took over, there was a surplus.
You mean, well, there was plenty in between, because Ted Pawlenty is the one that left office, and then Walz came in.
Point is, when Governor Ventura left office as governor of Minnesota, there was a surplus. Minnesota was thriving financially.
Yeah, and the 1990s and early 2000s, Minnesota was in a good place.
It was great.
And a livable state, a safe state, a state where you could raise your family, you could get good education, and you could make something of yourself and live a decent, happy, productive life. And call yourself a happy American. But since the mid-2000s and all the way on up through the 2010s, it's just been downhill, one thing after another. Whether it's migrant gangs, lack of safety, public safety, and then everything that happened with the riots in 2020, and then COVID, all of the abuses. The state is a wreck. It is an absolute wreck. Half the population absolutely doesn't have any loyalty whatsoever to even the U.S., let alone the state. So, it doesn't have any allegiance whatsoever. They're not even, many of them don't even consider themselves Americans, even though they live here. Or they have this idea of what it means to be an American, which is just whatever you want to be. And that's not what that word means. But, what I'm saying is that state has become what I call West New York. I jokingly call Minnesota West New York because of how messed up and not the same that it's become. It's changed a lot, but not for the better. in the preceding decade
Yeah.
underneath Walz's, governance. And that's the long and short of that. So
on that note, yeah, gonna have to figure out if there is anything. You might see us next Saturday. We'll see. Because I accidentally burned through everything I had written down for next Saturday with the Rumble and the Tim Waltz stuff. Because we were supposed to just talk about the Olympic stuff. But
I'm gonna have
my notes.
I'm gonna have a busy couple of weeks coming because I'm moving, So
Yeah. That being September, so September will probably take off for doing this because he'll be moving closer to me.
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully. Yep.
Yeah. So we, after August, we'll be back in October at that point.
Yeah, might have to be the case. We'll see.
Yeah. But until then, hope you guys have yourself a great evening. Be safe, be well. You will see this on Rumble by the start of next weekend at the latest. Because as I said, the previous episode was uploaded there just this morning. So, because I kept forgetting to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But since I was up late last night, I'm like, fuck it. I'll get this uploaded now because I was supposed to like a few days ago. So, we'll see you over on Rumble again. Be safe, be well. God bless all of you guys. May the Force be with you and George Lucas's Force, not fucking Disney's.
Mm-hmm.
And we may talk about the Gina Carano Disney thing again soon because that's still an ongoing court case.
Yeah.
But until then, as I said, God bless you guys. Not today, Satan. We are in God mode here in the underground. We'll see you guys next time.
Yep. See you guys.
Good night, everybody. Or good morning or good afternoon, whatever time it is in your region.
I will never say I'm sorry, I ain't taking nothing back. I don't care if I offend